Okay, so get this. Today, we're diving into the competitive world of scientific discovery. Like, what happens when you're in a research race, but someone else gets there first?
Scientific photo finish, and you're not the winner.
Exactly. Imagine putting your all into a project only to find out another team beat you to it. The research we're looking at today dives into this exact thing, and it all has to do with this super cool field, structural biology.
It's basically like mapping proteins, the tiny building blocks that make up, well, everything in our bodies. Think of these scientists like they're making super detailed 3D maps of these tiny structures.
Okay, and these maps are valuable because...
Because they're super important for figuring out how diseases work. Like a map helps you get around a city, these protein maps help researchers develop new medicines and treatments.
There's like a cheat sheet for the human body, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how do scientists keep track of all these protein structures? They're not exactly drawing them on sticky notes.
Definitely not. This is where the Protein Data Bank, or PDB, comes in. It's this massive online database where researchers all over the world share their protein maps. Imagine a giant library, but it's all about these blueprints of molecules.
So, kind of like a Wikipedia for proteins. I'm already seeing where this is going. A global race to see who can add their findings to this huge protein encyclopedia first.
That's the one. And that's exactly what this new study from Northwestern University is all about. They dug deep into the data from the PDB to track what they call priority races. These moments where multiple teams are working on solving and publishing the same protein structure at the same time.
Talk about pressure. So in this science race, what does it actually mean to get scooped?
Picture this. You figured it out, mapped out this crazy complex protein, even submitted it to the PDB. Feeling good, right? Then boom, another team publishes their findings on the exact same structure before you. That, my friend, is a scoop, and it happens more than you think.
Ouch. Yeah, that's rough. But hold on. The PDB makes researchers show their structures before they publish. So doesn't that mean there are all these scientific projects that got finished but never saw the light of day, all because they were scooped?
You've hit the nail on the head, and that's what makes this Northwestern study so fascinating. They used this pre-publication data to see not just the scientific wins, but those near misses too. It gives us a way better picture of what getting scooped really means.
It's like a whole secret archive of awesome science that never made it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Wild, but also kind of sad for the researchers, you know? So let's get down to it. What does this study actually tell us about, like, the real impact of getting scooped? Does it ruin careers, or can scientists recover from being, well, second?
That's the million-dollar question for a lot of researchers. The good news is, while getting scooped definitely matters, it's not the end of the world like some people think. There's actually a lot more to it.
Okay, you've got my attention. Break it down for us. What actually happens when you get scooped?
Let's start with the most obvious thing getting published. The study found that getting scooped makes it a little less likely your project gets published. It's only by about 3% though, so not a huge drop. But it does seem like some teams get discouraged and just give up.
I get it. Why keep going if you're racing a ghost and already lost, right? But didn't you say most of these scooped projects do end up getting published? That's kind of surprising.
Totally. And it shows that even in a field as competitive as structural biology, there's still a place for those second place findings. But, and this is where things get interesting, scooped papers are more likely to be published in less prestigious journals, ones with a lower impact factor.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who don't live and breathe scientific journals, what's impact factor? Why does it matter?
Basically, it's a way to measure how important a scientific journal is, like a popularity ranking in the science world. The higher the impact factor, the more people read it and cite the research in it. This study suggests that journal editors really care about being the first to publish a big discovery. They want that novelty factor.
It's like trying to release a cool new gadget after someone else already launched theirs, right? Doesn't matter if yours is great, it's a harder sell.
Exactly. And that leads us to the biggest penalty for getting scooped. Citations. Citations are like the currency of science, showing how much your research impacts other scientists' work.
Like a badge of honor. The more citations you have, the more your work adds to the bigger picture, right?
Right on. Unfortunately, the study found that scooped papers usually get around 21% fewer citations compared to the papers that, well, scooped them. So yeah, being first to share a new idea really matters in science.
That's a big difference. But even with 21% fewer, that still means the scoop team is getting almost 80% of the credit, right? Their work isn't totally ignored.
You got it. It's not like it's winner takes all. Even if you're not the first one across the finish line, other scientists still care about your work.
That's good news for anyone out there doing cutting-edge research. But You mentioned before that there's even more to this whole scoop thing. Like, does when you get scooped make a difference? Is it better to find out early on or right before you're about to publish? Yeah, it's like, is it better to have a head start and lose or never even get in the race at all? But in this case, is it better to know you've been scooped early on or right when you're about to tell the world about your amazing discovery?
Huh. And this Northwestern study actually looked at that. Turns out, when you get scooped totally changes how researchers react and what happens to their work.
Okay, so let's say a team realizes they've been scooped, like way early in their project. What do? Just give up.
Actually, and this might surprise you, it can make their research even better. Think about it. When you get scooped early, you've got time to change your game plan. The study found that a lot of teams use that scoop as motivation to go deeper, to do more than just what that other team already did.
So it's like, okay, you beat us to it, but hold my beer. We're taking this research to a whole new level.
100%. They might expand the whole project, add new experiments, or really dig deep into the data. It's all about making their work stand out, adding something new to the mix.
That's really cool. A little early competition can push scientists to do their best work. What about getting scooped later in the game? Like right before you're ready to publish, that's got to hurt, right?
Oh, for sure. Because by then you've put in so much time and effort, there's not much you can change. And that feeling of being scooped is probably way worse. The study found those late-stage scoops usually meant a bigger hit to citations, too.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you're scooped at the last minute, your research is basically done. No time to go back and make big changes. Didn't the study mention this one team researching a liver enzyme? Like, they got scooped right at the finish line.
Oh, yeah. They were done, ready to send in their paper, and bam, scooped. Talk about bad timing. They did get published, but in a good journal. But like we talked about, they probably got fewer citations because of it. And that actually brings up another big thing from the study. Not all scientific journals are equal.
Right. And those big-time journals, the ones that all scientists dream of getting published in, they don't want to publish something that's already been, published.
No. Journals like Science, Nature, Cell, they're all about being the first to publish groundbreaking discoveries. They want that super innovative research. I mean, they might consider a scooped paper, especially if it was already being reviewed when the scoop happened, but it's tough.
So it's like there's this hierarchy in science, and if you get scooped, your research might end up in a less prestigious place, even if the work itself is good.
You got it. And it makes you wonder about how we decide what scientific work is important and how we reward it. But get this. Besides where you publish and how many citations you get, this Northwestern study found something else that matters a lot, a researcher's reputation.
Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. Tell me everything.
So they saw this thing they call the reputation effect. Basically, researchers from famous labs, they tend to get more citations, even if they get scooped.
It's like that saying, all publicity is good publicity. People are drawn to the name, even if it's not brand new.
That's it. Like, if a lab is known for doing great work, other scientists might think their research is just better, even if it wasn't the first one published. Which, of course, makes you think about whether that's really fair, and if there's some bias in how science is rewarded. It's still super interesting, though.
For sure. Okay, let's talk about how all this pressure to be first affects scientists, like personally. How do they deal with it?
Well, the Northwestern team wanted to know that too, so they actually asked hundreds of structural biologists about their experiences with getting scooped. What they found was kind of shocking. Turns out, scientists are way more scared of getting scooped than they need to be.
Really? Like it's not as common as they think.
Exactly. The survey found scientists think there's like a 27% chance of getting scooped, but in reality, it's closer to 8%.
Wow, the fear is real.
Totally. And here's the kicker. Scientists also think getting scooped is way worse than it actually is. They think it'll totally ruin their chances of getting published and that their citations will plummet.
It's a good reminder to not always believe everything you think, even in science.
You said it. It's so important to look at the actual data, even when it comes to, like, our own careers and anxieties.
Couldn't agree more. This has been an awesome look into the world of scientific discovery, all the competition, and what happens when someone beats you to the punch. We talked about the good and the bad of these research races, what it means to get scooped, and how that pressure can actually lead to some really cool science.
We also learned about some of the hidden stuff, like how the timing of a scoop and even who you are as a scientist can really change things.
And most importantly, we saw that even though being first is a big deal, it's not everything. There's still a lot of value in the research that comes in second, third, or even later. And hey, even getting scooped can make you a better scientist.
Totally. This study was all about structural biology, where things are kind of clear-cut. But it makes you think, how different would it be in fields like, say, economics or sociology, places where the research isn't so black and white?
Now, that is a great question. And it shows just how complex and interesting science really is. It's something we should all think about, whether we're scientists or just curious people. How do we keep making new knowledge and pushing the boundaries of what we know?
Couldn't have said it better myself. Looks like we've reached the end of this deep dive.
Until next time, stay curious, everyone. And remember, even if you're not first, your work still makes a difference in the world of science.